जब हमारे डैड स्कूल आते थे तो सारे बच्चे मतलब उनकी तरफ देखते थे और मतलब टीचर्स एंड फैकल्टी स्टाफ सब he becomes your superhero because he's your father and he's playing these central characters in these movies. By 1994 he temporarily made up his mind to retire from films. We realized that now it's going to be different. It's not going to be the ultimate, superstar that we grew up watching.
What was the reaction of Jeetu sir when you told him that this is the way I want to take my family ahead?
I wanted to be very sure myself. I wanted to be very confident and I wanted to be very, very clear and very, very independent in my decision, which is why I went ahead with it. And then I discussed it with my family. There were times when I was a bit anxious about what would be the reactions. It's almost like, shattering the socio-cultural fabric of the country.
Did you ever consider getting married, or was it ever in question? Or
I'm still open to the idea of getting married.
what was that moment like the first time you hold Laksshya in your arms?
When he came home, he looked very cute. And I held him and I put him in the cot first thing. So Ekta is this large-hearted person and I'm a good heart, but a very strong mind. When I did it, we knew that she's going to be next in line. She had made up her mind. It was just about when.
Does it concern you as a father that when Laksshya will grow up and people will kind of ask him about his family? Fatherhood is a feeling, I think, which is not easy to define in any terms, but we still try to put some conventional definitions to it. One person who has broke those definitions and proved that fatherhood is an emotion, it's a feeling of responsibility, care and love that does not need to fit in a certain norm. He has proved it with his journey in fatherhood, and I think he has seen the best father that there is in his life as well. Today, as we celebrate Father's Day, I am joined by the amazing Tusshar Kapoor as I talk to him and have a conversation only on Bollywood Bubble. So Tusshar, welcome to Bollywood Bubble first.
Thank you so much for the very warm welcome.
Firstly, I want to start from your childhood, like growing up with a father who was in the industry, who was a star to say the least. He was a big person, Jeetendra sir, and he still is today. To kind of grow in that environment, to see your father be a public figure, for you, how did that influence your childhood?
ज़्यादातर तो हमारे माँ बाप ने नॉर्मल ही रखना पसंद किया हमारा चाइल्डहुड एंड वी ग्रो अप इन अ बिल्डिंग. एक बंगलो था लेकिन बिल्डिंग के कंपाउंड के साथ साथ ही था. तो बिल्डिंग के फ्रेंड्स शाम को स्कूल से आने के बाद हम उनके साथ खेलते थे, फिर होमवर्क करके बाहर आते थे, फिर 8-8:30 बजे घर जाते थे, डिनर करके सो जाते थे. तो वेरी नॉर्मल टिपिकल इंडियन लाइफस्टाइल. आई वुड से अ लॉट ऑफ मिडिल क्लास वैल्यूज़. And of course we became aware कि our father is a very popular actor. लेकिन कभी वो हवा नहीं लगी थी हमें उस उम्र में. We were very grounded in that sense. और शूटिंग पे भी इतना ज़्यादा जाते नहीं थे कि हमें पता नहीं था कि वो क्या एडुलेशन, मतलब कि क्या मायने रखता है उनकी स्टारडम. We didn't really have that knowledge very closely. हम सिर्फ ये चाहते थे कि कुछ स्पेशल है, क्योंकि जब हमारे डैड स्कूल आते थे तो सारे बच्चे मतलब उनकी तरफ देखते थे और मतलब टीचर्स एंड फैकल्टी स्टाफ सब थोड़ा मतलब एक हलचल शुरू हो जाती थी. व्हेनेवर ही केम फॉर PTA मीटिंग्स और ही केम फॉर फाउंडर्स डे, स्पोर्ट्स डे. लेकिन जब हम थिएटर में उनकी फिल्में देखने जाया करते थे तो जो क्रेज़ होता था उस 80s और 70s के स्टार्स का जो क्रेज़ था, मतलब इट वाज वेरी ऑन ग्राउंड लेवल का जो क्रेज़ होता था, ग्रास रूट लेवल का क्रेज़ था. पिक्चर शुरू होते मतलब होने से पहले ही जब सेंसर सर्टिफिकेट आता था तो चीखें शुरू हो जाती थी उस ज़माने में. सो इट यूज्ड टू बी एन एक्सपीरियंस टू गो टू द थिएटर. सो उससे हमें काफ़ी पता चला कि ही इज़ वेरी पॉपुलर, ही इज़ वेरी फेमस, ही इज़ अ मूवी स्टार. बट जो हमारी लाइफस्टाइल थी वो बहुत ही अलग थी. वी वर इन अ सेंस काइंड ऑफ प्रोटेक्टेड लाइफस्टाइल थी, बट एट द सेम टाइम वेरी नॉर्मल, वेरी ग्राउंडेड. या बट ही यूज्ड टू कम वेरी रेयरली टू स्कूल बिकॉज वो ज़्यादातर चेन्नई में शूटिंग किया करते थे जब हम बड़े हो रहे थे. इन द 80s ही वाज वर्किंग अ लॉट इन द साउथ. और अभी तो बहुत साउथ का मतलब बहुत क्रेज़ है, बहुत इम्पोर्टेंस है, बहुत मतलब कि हिंदी सिनेमा के लिए आई एम सेइंग इट्स वेरी कनेक्टेड. बट ये ट्रेंड आई थिंक डैड ने ही ज़्यादातर शुरू किया था. ही यूज्ड टू वर्क इन अ लॉट ऑफ रीमेक फिल्म्स. सो वी यूज्ड टू गो टू चेन्नई टू बी विद हिम इन द वीकेंड्स. तो हम ज़्यादातर चेन्नई या हैदराबाद में रहते थे. एवरी सैटरडे संडे वी वर देयर. सो वी हैड 2 होम्स, वन इन मुंबई एंड वन इन द साउथ.
जैसे हम लोग बोलते हैं ना कि फादर्स आर लाइक द फर्स्ट सुपर हीरो for every kid. So, do you have any particular memory of any incident where you felt the way first time ki, oh, my father is like my superhero?
ही वॉज अ रोल मॉडल फॉर श्योर. उनकी सारी फिल्में देखा करते थे एंड आई थिंक he becomes your superhero because he's your father and he's playing these central characters in these movies, so you kind of start idolizing this man who you see in front of the screen, you know, in front of your on your TV screen or your through your video cassette. So he became that role model for both of us, me and my sister. And because he was so busy, so we got to see him more through the movies we used to see on video cassette. And we used to see them on repeat, you know, we used to see all those movies. आज ये देखेंगे, आज ये देखेंगे, आज ये देखेंगे. सबकी फिल्में देखा करते थे, but dad की ज़्यादा देखा करते थे. Obviously. So he was like, he was like our superhero in the sense that we thought he could do everything and we thought that he was the ultimate positive, righteous man that we would see in the movies of that time. So he became like an idol in that sense. That he can't go wrong. You know, this is going to be forever. This role that he plays in these movies, and the fact that he's an actor, and the fact that he's famous, and the fact that, you know, he's going to be working and we'll be studying. We never knew that it's going to all change. We're going to grow up and life is going to change. We thought it's all going to stay forever. Almost like a fairy tale. I mean, obviously, like for all kids, I think we kind of live in a bit of a fairy tale. We start thinking that, okay, these are certain roles played by our family members and that's how it's going to be. But then of course reality strikes and you wake up.
वो तो है. एंड जैसे हम वो होता है ना कि हम वी टेक फॉर ग्रांटेड एट टाइम्स कि लाइक मम्मी पापा हैं, दे विल ऑलवेज बी देयर, दे विल टेक केयर ऑफ एवरीथिंग एंड ऑल. वाज देयर एवर एनी इंसिडेंट वेयर यू काइंड ऑफ वाज स्टक इन अ सिचुएशन एंड ही जंप्ड इन टू सेव यू?
I got lost once. I was in Disney World and there's a monorail that used to take you to the amusement park from the hotel. तो उस मोनोरेल से वापस भी आप जाते थे, मतलब पूरे राइड्स ख़त्म करके, पूरे दिन की जो अम्यूज़मेंट्स हैं उनको ख़त्म करके आप मोनोरेल पकड़ के वापस होटल जा सकते हैं. सो आई रिमेंबर आई फॉरगॉट टू गेट ऑन द ट्रेन एंड माई फैमिली गॉट ऑन टू द ट्रेन एंड माई कजन्स एंड एवरीबडी एंड आई थिंक आई वाज लेफ्ट बिहाइंड और आई गॉट लॉस्ट और व्हाटएवर एंड आई वाज ऑल अलोन एंड आई स्टार्टेड गेटिंग वेरी एंग्शियस, वेरी नर्वस. आई वाज अराउंड 5 at that time, 5 or 6. But in half an hour, 20 minutes, I think my father came back to get me because they realized I was missing. If he hadn't, I wouldn't have been sitting here. I don't know where I would have been, probably, but yeah. So
भाई तुषार कपूर का घर कोई और होता.
Thank God for our parents. Yeah, I would have been living in the US. Maybe I would have become the president of the US.
Oh, ये सही है कि वो ख्वाब ऊंचे रखने चाहिए. But when you kind of decided to kind of follow that same path and kind of get into the same industry that he was, the same job that he was, initially there are dreams, but then when reality strikes, when you start getting into it, how difficult did it get to kind of live up to the name of Jeetendra sir's son for you?
See, for me, it was never like I have to follow in my father's footsteps. That was never the case for me as far as my career is concerned. So I never really had an expectation that I have to live up to the standards that he has set, or that these are my goals, because I was very confused about what I wanted to do as a professional and as far as my career choices are concerned. And I tried my best to stay away from the film world. I went abroad to study and then I graduated there. I worked for a year in an automotive supplier company as a financial analyst and lived on my own, and I wanted to settle down. And thereafter I started realizing that, you know, the world of arts, the world of entertainment is what I'm really drawn to. And my visa also was not really, you know, it was an issue for me there, because by the time my student visa expired, I got a job, but the permanent visa takes 6 months. So I had to come back, and then I was beginning to realize that, okay, now maybe the corporate world is not what I'm really inclined towards. So I was basically selecting by elimination. So corporate world बाहर निकल गया, business world बाहर निकल गया, then I said, okay, film line में कुछ करते हैं, because this is where I will have a better idea rather than Hollywood, because I've grown up watching Hindi movies. So I came back to India to pursue a career in films, and then I became an assistant director, thinking that maybe I'll become a director. And then when I became an assistant director, I made some contacts and I got my first film as an offer. Then I spoke to my dad and said that, you know, I didn't think about being launched like this, or I didn't think about training myself as an actor, because मैंने कुछ classes कुछ भी नहीं किए थे उस time पे. But this offer has come. So he also liked the movie. He said, you go with your gut feeling. And I said, I'll do it. And it turned out it worked out for me. And that's when I started taking the classes, acting classes. Then I started Roshan Taneja's classes. I started fight classes, dance classes, and diction classes. So that is when I started training myself. So it was basically a lot of hard work to choose the right career path. You know, कि ये नहीं करना, ठीक है, अभी ये try करते हैं, अच्छा ये नहीं तो फिर ये भी, अच्छा ये मिल गया offer, ये try कर ले, ऐसे था.
To see your father when he was having some low times in his career, to deal with the struggles of it, how challenging for you as a kid to see your father go through it, and how was it inspiring the way he dealt with it for you?
We did become a bit aware that okay, now he's not the active leading man, he's playing main leads. This is around the early 90s because he was a 60s hero who was successful in the 60s and 70s, and then 80s he peaked. And right up till the early 90s, he was very, very busy working. He was, in fact, doing like multiple shifts even in the early 90s when he was almost turning 50. But he was doing more, not the dancing hero anymore. He was kind of playing the older brother, like in Thanedar, or like a hero, a main lead, but there was always a younger hero in those films. Like Ma did well, it was solo hero, but then there was Rang also where, you know, he was like kind of the senior romantic hero of the film. So we realized that now it's going to be different. It's not going to be that he's going to be the ultimate, you know, superstar that we grew up watching. So that was a natural progression and an understanding that we grew into and accepted. And I was around 21, I was turning around 50, no, I was becoming a teenager then. And then I had to start focusing on my own life, my own journey, my own struggles in college, and to find the right career path for myself, to choose the right field. So around the same time, you know, I also started growing up and I became an adolescent. So I guess it was a transition into a new phase, but it was very, very, very needed because we all have to grow up someday, and we all have to face the highs and lows of life, and we all have to take it in our stride and become strong. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to be able to be your own person if you can't take everything in the right spirit.
And also, as you mentioned that you were abroad for 5-6 years during that time, and when things were happening here, your father was also having a little different route in his career. Was it difficult to see it happening from afar? Because you were not here to kind of...
No. This is, by the time I went abroad in 94, Balaji was launched. Balaji Telefilms had started. So he focused his energies on supporting his wife and his daughter in establishing that business. He's the chairman of the company. So by 1994, he temporarily made up his mind to retire from films, like from active shooting schedules, and trying to focus on creating Balaji Motion Pictures and Balaji Telefilms.
When you decided to take the journey, take your life into fatherhood, and it wasn't a conventional way. So what was the reaction of Jeetu sir when you told him that this is the way I want to take my family ahead?
I actually did the whole thing and then I told my parents. I wanted to be a parent and I wasn't married at that point of time in 2015, and there are ways and means to become a parent legally without, if you feel marriage is not your calling, then you can adopt or you can become a parent, even have a biological child of your own through surrogacy and IVF, which is what I adopted. I wanted to be very sure myself, I wanted to be very confident, and I wanted to be very, very clear and very, very independent in my decision, which is why I went ahead with it. And then I discussed it with my family because I didn't want to base my decision on what they think. Although it's very important to have their acceptance, I still was living with my family only. And the parents have a say in everything. But this is an area where I wanted to make a personal choice and then share that with my family, which I did, and they accepted it wholeheartedly. They said that if you are ready, if you are clear about what you want, we are with you. So I'm lucky about that. But the IVF and the surrogacy was successful by the time I told them.
During that whole period, when you kind of decided that, okay, this is the route I want to go through, and till the time Laksshya was born, it was a long time because it was not just the 9 months. I'm sure it would have been before, when you thought about it, when you got into that process, when you kind of thought, worked out the legality, the technicality and all of it. During that time, was there ever any weak moment where you felt like maybe a little doubtful, not ski, I shouldn't do it, but maybe a little doubtful ki whether what I'm doing is right? Should I do that? Were there moments?
Yeah, of course. There were times when I was a bit anxious about what would be the reactions, from the film line, from the audience, from my fans, from society in general, from relatives. What is going to be the reaction? It was positive nervous energy because I knew somewhere that it's going to be path breaking, and that is always a positive thing when you do something out of the box and you kind of set a trend or you choose your own path. You're always appreciated. But in a society which is also very conservative, at least on the outside, we may be very liberal on the inside, but we're very conservative.
Yeah.
We're very politically correct, very conservative, and we go by the norms. What would be the repercussions of that? It's almost like shattering the socio-cultural fabric of the country. But it was legal.
Yeah.
And the reactions were so positive. Just goes to show that India is basically a very liberal, we're very rooted in our culture. But our culture itself is very liberal. And our traditions are very accepting. If your intention, if your seriousness is correct, if you're not doing it for a fad or you're not doing it because you want to have a child and then not bother about it just because others have started a family, you want to have a family too. And if it's a little frivolous, then people criticize you. But if you've come with the right attitude, then people accept you.
Did you ever consider getting married, or was it ever in question, or were there times maybe you got close to it, or like it was never like in the plan?
No, I'm still open to the idea of getting married. I've never against it. I think it's a wonderful institution. And millions and billions of people have found true happiness through marriage. And though a lot of marriages are falling apart today, there are tons of them that are working it out also through their challenges and through the highs and lows of it. So there's no black and white to this question. But if it hasn't happened so far, and if I'm doing okay as a father, I'm not really missing out on anything. I don't feel like I need to get married, but if it happens, so be it.
What was that moment like the first time you hold Laksshya in your arms?
I remember when he came home, the day he was born, that night. The next morning, early morning. He was born in the night, on the first night. He came in the second morning, June. The doctor brought him home. And I remember I had seen pictures of him. And I couldn't understand those pictures because children look very, very different when they're just born, because there's a blood rush on the face and it's not settled down yet. So they look like tadpoles almost. But when he came home, he looked very cute. And I held him and I put him in the cot first thing because it was too much for me to handle then, that morning. And I went back to sleep. And then I woke up at 8:30, whenever I wake up, and then I started my day with him, holding him in my arms. And his room was ready. The music was playing, that light music, the cot was ready, and he was put into his cot and he was sleeping, of course. But we used to all come and look at his face, and compared to the pictures that were sent earlier, he was looking like a very cute baby. So we were very, very happy and and he resembled me even at that stage. So I was very thrilled,
So what was that moment like when you finally it kind of struck you ki, okay, now I'm a father?
Yeah, that I think kept coming during the 9 months of the surrogacy. It kept coming back. The realization, it's like a little bit of a awakening that it's a new life now about to begin. But when he came home, I remember I almost fit into that shoes of a father almost instantly. I did when I dropped the doctor. I said, very strangely and very childishly, asked him, "Doctor, will I be able to go out now?" He said, yeah, of course you can go out, but won't you want to bond with your son as much as possible? I said, yes. I was a bit lost in that sense, ki now what am I supposed to do? But as soon as I went back up, I just fit into the shoes of a father instantly, and I don't think I've even questioned it once since that day. 7 years are over and I haven't questioned it once also.
How what is the biggest change that fatherhood has brought in you?
It's calmed me down, made me very confident. अजीबोगरीब जो प्रॉब्लम्स हुआ करती थी हमारी कि अरे यार इस पार्टी में जाऊँ कि नहीं जाऊँ, क्या
first world
पहनूँ क्या
problems.
नहीं पहनूँ, वो सारी हट जाती है. अभी ये कि earlier I used to just hate traveling, I used to hate getting out of my comfort zone. So he takes me out of my comfort zone, which is very important.
Now that he's growing up, like, and he's getting cuter by the day, let me just say.
Thanks.
So, does it become difficult to say no to him at some times?
Yeah, he's like, Papa, I don't want to do this. Or yesterday only गाड़ी में fight किया मेरे साथ. He wanted to, we were coming back from Lonavala, he wanted to watch some videos on YouTube. And I gave him half an hour, I gave him a watch, and then he started howling like a major meltdown. I'm getting bored, I want to watch it, but you can't get addicted to these videos. So I had a deal with him. I said that, okay, you're going to watch 15 minutes more till we reach, but then you can't watch for lunch and you can't watch for dinner. So no screen time the rest of the day. So you have to negotiate with them. Yeah, ये सब करना पड़ता है.
Negotiating power भी मिल जाती है.
Yeah,
as a
पूरा
parent.
negotiating power. ये अच्छा ये मिलेगा अभी, फिर ये सब नहीं मिलेगा.
Does he kind of easily?
Yeah, now he says, I don't want to go there. I want to do this. I don't want to do that. Very, I don't want to. I want to. I don't want to. I'm very clear. ये करना है, ये नहीं करना है.
No, I might. This might be a little stronger word, but you might get the essence. Like, is he? Is it easy for him to manipulate you with his innocence and cuteness?
Yeah, he does try to manipulate me थोड़ा बहुत. जब मैं आ जाता हूँ scene में, then he starts becoming a little like, I don't want to go for this class. I'm feeling tired. When I'm not there, the Didi is there. So she takes him. He doesn't say no. मैं आ जाता हूँ. He thinks he'll get away with it.
Yeah.
But he's also a little scared of me. If I say something a little loudly or a little angrily, he doesn't like it. So I have to control my anger because he's very sensitive to what I do. So Ekta is this large-hearted person, and I'm a good heart, but a very strong mind. Yeah.
But is she the same with Ravi also?
She's very cool with Ravi also. She's like a Santa Claus parent, completely. जो चाहिए उसका 10 गुना मिलेगा. And I'm the one who has to balance it out, control it.
And your journey, I think, also inspired Ekta ma'am also. Like, she also went through the same path and had Ravi. So, was it like an emotional moment for you when you got to know that she's also taking this path to become a mother?
No, we knew it when I did it. We knew it that she's going to be next in line. She had made up her mind. It was just about when. And she was to say that I'm not deciding yet. I'm not sure about it. But पता था कि 1-2 साल में तो कर ही लेंगी. So it was a very natural step for all of us, and we kind of accepted it immediately. It wasn't like, oh my God, now another kid is coming into the house. It was a happy decision for all of us, and she was much quieter about it because we had already created a lot of noise in breaking the norm with Laksshya. So with her, I think it was much easier also. I think everybody was very prepared that.
And like, as adults, like, we know how to deal with things, and you have learned, you have answered questions of people. But somewhere down the line, does it concern you as a father that when Laksshya will grow up and people will kind of ask him about his family, and because it's not a conventional norm, so does it concern you of how he might take it, or
He's
how it
already
might
been spoken to. Like, I always have conversations with him, and he is least concerned about the fact that it's a different family, because he's brought up to understand that there are all families are different in their own way. And sometimes they are visibly different, but sometimes they're not visibly different. But जो बाहर से दिखता है वो हमेशा अंदर से होता नहीं है. हर फैमिली में कुछ ना कुछ अलगपन है ही. कुछ यूनिक क्वालिटीज़ हैं हर एक फैमिली में जो उन्हें मतलब जोड़ती है या फिर तोड़ती हैं, या फिर उनकी अपनी अपनी स्ट्रगल्स होती हैं. एंड इवन विजिबली यू सी सम फैमिलीज आर with parents who have separated, or who have long distance marriages, or where someone has passed away, or if it could be an adopted child, a family that is adoptive. So every family has its own structure, its own unique qualities, and he understands that. And I think children want to be loved. They want to be loved unconditionally, and if they feel secure, if they feel wanted, if they feel like they belong somewhere. I think these things are more external in that sense. It's more about how you feel internally.
Does the presence of Laksshya kind of push you in your work as well, like to do maybe diverse work and do more work and do everything, so that he could one day say like, oh, my father did that.
He's not really understood my job as an actor yet, but like when kids come on the road or in parks to take autographs, so now he started asking, so they must have seen Papa's Papa's videos? I said, no, they've not just seen my videos on Instagram, they've seen my movies.
This Insta generation.
Yeah, so he's totally in that Insta generation. He says that because he wants to start his own YouTube channel and make videos of his own and all. He's doing that also.
Already.
So he's
a
thinking
star.
that maybe I'm famous because of my YouTube videos. I said, no, I'm an actor, and they've seen my movies. He's, okay, they've seen my movies. Because my movie, he hasn't seen one full one yet. In school, he was learning about this in the music module, dance and drama module. They practiced on Jhoom Barabar Jhoom, and they practiced on Om Shanti Om ka song. And then in that video, I'm there with my dad for 1 second.
Yeah.
For 1 minute, I come with my father for a special appearance. So he's like, how come you are in the song? Is it because you're important? I said, yes, I'm important. Because he was learning how to dance to that song in school, so they had to see the video. So then he saw me in that video.
You got a humongously appreciative and accepting response after you became a father. But I'm sure there must have been times someone must have trolled you, or maybe someone would have dissed you being a single father. How did you deal with that later on after having Laksshya?
I think that was like 0.001%, negativity, which I would say कि अच्छा हुआ, नज़र निकल गई, कभी-कभी नज़र बट्टू कहते हैं ना हम, कि something that is so good, something little negative should happen that sorts it out. It's about how you feel. It's about if you're sure about it, if you're clear about it, if you're positive, then even that 1 or 2 reactions, even if there were 100 reactions, I would not really care.
Yeah.
I was nervous before I did it, but एक बार आदमी कर लेता है ना, and if आपके अंदर की आवाज़ ने आपसे वो चीज़ करवाई है, then you will always come out successful.
And I think after you become father, the only thing that matters is that kid. Your journey of fatherhood and your journey as a person in itself has been such inspiring and such, I'm not even getting the adjectives right, because it is just so amazing, the journey that you have shown. Thank you so much for being the wonderful father that you are, for being the wonderful person that you are, and thank you for being the wonderful actor you are. Can't wait to see you more on screen and off the screen.
Thank you so much for a wonderful interview, and you're a wonderful host.
Thank
you're
you,
a wonderful
sir.
team, and a wonderful goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Tusshar here, and you are watching me on Bollywood Bubble.